the fragment can communicate with each other. For example, a fragment that is visible will communicate with the other fragment that have not been attached. It will be weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. So for the purpose of the recording, I'm repeating the question, why should fragments not talk with each other? It's because fragments are modular, right? You want them to be reused. And again, if we go back to this screen, in one version we have it there and one version we don't. But to simply just, we want to be able to, and we could potentially reuse that fragment in a lot of different activities. So it would create a very tight binding if we said, okay, they have to talk with each other, right? Right? It's like you're basically creating like a wire between those two fragments, and that's considered like a tight binding, right? It's similar to what we saw with even data binding, right? You have to make a decision on whether you want that binding to happen or not, right? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. In this case, for fragments, for most purposes, it's really bad because you want them to be modular components, okay? But so what if we want your fragment to talk with your parent activity, right? So every fragment has a parent activity. How should we talk with the parent activity?
In the fragment, we have the guest activity, so we can actively interacting with the parents.
Yeah, you could. So that's also bad too, because let's say we're here, right? And I don't know, activities created. We could say get activity, right? That gives your parent activity, and then what? You start calling function calls on it,
Maybe.
right? That's so it will work. It will absolutely work. But now you're creating a tight binding between your fragment and your parent activity. It has, like literally, I would have to know that this activity is a main activity, right? And then I go and make my function calls, right?
I usually do interface.
Right.
And sometimes I do event bus.
Right. Cool. We'll get to event bus. I will, but for now we'll say, so why an interface? Why is an interface important? Right. So you're creating, the interface is like, if I were to say main activity, then you would know the implementation of the main activity, right? Literally, if I say get activity and I cast it as a main activity, you literally have to know what the implementation details of that main activity are. That's effectively what you're saying, right? Get activity, cast it main activity. You literally know, like, you literally want that activity. That's not really what you want. What you want is like a conduit, right, to communicate with them. So we can create like very simply just an interface, right? So we can create an interface that says on fragment or on nav fragment listener. Okay, so I'm being very specific on what I'm calling this, right? So then we can say public on action, let's say, and we'll pass a string. Oh, sorry, should not have that. Sharing text. Oh, sorry, void, right? Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, so then here I would implement that, right? And then I would implement that method. Okay? So now in my fragment, what do? So you're given a context, So then you should check to see if context is instance of on listener, and then right, you save the listener to be used at a later point. Okay, this is fine, but you're going to reuse it across all these nav fragments. So what I mean by nav fragment is basically anything that gets set up using this, right? So we can create, it might be easier just to create another class, base nav fragment, superclass fragment, okay. Listener. All right, let's get rid of this. Just copy that and what? Okay, now we have this other one called methods. What? It's called onDetach, right? And then listener equals on listener context. Okay, make sure to set it to null, right? On detach, because otherwise, right, bad stuff could happen, leaks. Okay, and then we're going to create another function called protected. Yeah, okay. Sweet. Now in gallery fragment, so we have a view here. Return view. Okay, let's add for that image inside. Let's add a listener, and then we'll have it make a call saying, "Oh, a button was clicked." Okay. So view. Fine. ID. It's called G2, right? G2. Sorry for the bad naming. Set on click listener, new on click listener, and then we can say no, not this, right? Oh, sorry, I didn't extend base nav fragment, right? So for each of these, I should change it to base nav fragment, and then I can call get listener on action. I don't know what was it. Show me the money. Okay. And then let's do the same thing for simple slideshow. Right? Oh, gotta be careful. So what is it in slideshow? View 3. Okay. Let's see. Okay. And right now the main activity isn't doing anything, so that's why I had, again, find view by ID. You shouldn't put it here. Put it like in your on create, but I think it was called. What was it called? It was called. Oh, let's give it ID. TV action. Oh, sorry. Okay. And then here we'll call TV action set. Sorry, we have to cast to text view. Again, should not be here. Please make sure to remember that. I am just doing this for the purposes of this example, right? And then let's debug. Okay, and let's rotate this back to here. Okay. Slideshow, right? Show me the money. Oh, I didn't change the text, but anyways, this is sending the slideshow. Right, so you're defining an interface for how you want to communicate with the parent. You don't know any details of the parent, and now your activity can handle that action however they want, right? Right, so that's how you should do it. Like, so okay, so does everyone understand like why you're doing it this way? Because you could potentially broadcast it everywhere, but that's terrible, right? Because this is clearly designed for the implementation. We have a single page here with a little action bar or a little text view that's related to the activity that we want to show additional information to. You don't want to like broadcast it everywhere because like basically you're saying like every single time there's an action, I broadcast it to every single potential fragment that's out there or broadcast it to everything out there. That's a terrible idea. You're localizing your implementation to the activity and the fragments. That's it, right? In this case. Okay? Is that part clear? And we can see this working, right? Slideshow. Show me the slideshow. If I go to gallery, show me the money. Okay? Okay? Sweet. All right. Now we're going to talk about when do you broadcast everywhere? Does anyone have any concrete examples on when you might want to broadcast changes everywhere? Potentially. Network change? Potentially. Or you could simply just detect it on demand, right? Unless you want something to show deliberately, like that the action. Yeah, but that's an example. But that's not a must. No, that's not a must change, right? Like potentially, like let's say the network changes. I understand what you're saying, right? Like let's say the network goes out, and you want to show like an alert or like stop showing a page or something like that. Okay, so this is something for you guys to think about. We'll come back and think about it, but for now, I'm actually going to create a special type of fragment called dialog fragment. I think some of you guys have used it before. So we'll do that really quick, and you'll sort of see where I'm going with this. Okay, again, new layout, fragment, sorry. Yeah, we'll do plain text, password, and button. Right, so button, text, login, ID, PT log. Okay. So can anyone tell me what a dialog fragment does? Dialog fragment? Yeah. So it displays over everything, right? And you know, it's overlaid, and you have customization for exactly what phone said, right? But the nice part is it takes care of the fragment transaction for you. You don't have to manually. You can. What you'll see. All you do is you call show. And it'll work. Okay. Okay. Ready? So what I'm going to do actually is, okay, so I'm going to create a new class. Let's call it login, dialog, fragment, dialog fragment. Okay, we're going to do support again. And then we're going to do what on create view. Again, name your objects better, or your objects better. Our layout dot fragment login container. False return view for now. Actually, I will also do the find view by ID r ID BT login set on click listener, new on click listener. Okay. And what we want to do is we're actually going to change the jar. Where is that? Oh, sorry, menu. Right now we have a bunch of these groups, and we're actually going to change this into called nav login and title login. Okay, and so if we go to main activity, we should no longer have this nav send login. Okay, so we're actually going to just punch in the code here. New dialog fragment. Right. Show. So we call new, or sorry, get support fragment manager, and then a tag, right? Okay.
When you use the fragment, there is a try fragment manager. What is from you?
This?
When we use in the fragment, there is another fragment manager. It's on the try fragment manager.
Sorry. This?
Yeah. There's a function like get try fragment manager.
Get child fragment manager. Well, so I think, okay, my understanding is that you can do fragments within fragments, right?
If we nest,
Yeah.
so many layers.
So remember what is fragments trying to do? Fragments is controlling a space. So remember how I said in Swift you get it for free, right? You can do child. So fragments is sort of like, okay, activities were sort of defined before fragments. Now you have fragments that can be used actually as like childs of childs, right? Yeah, right? So not very many people create that many like that nesting, but that's exactly what it's doing. So you can control another subpart. Does that make sense? It sucks. That's like terrible architecture. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Cool. So where was I? Running? Was I running it? I think I was running it. Looks like I got a problem attaching. login, right? So I press login, whatever. So in this case, what do we want? I think we want dismiss, right? We simply want to shut it when we press login. Okay. Now we return to this question: when do we want to broadcast? When do we want to broadcast like an event to everywhere? So in the case of this listener and fragment interaction, that's very clearly located to the main activity and the fragments that are child fragments of that activity. But you typically want to broadcast things that are business level events. For example, when you log in, that potentially has a lot of effects, right? If you have a freemium app where they get an experience when they are without being logged in, and when they are logged in, that's a totally different experience, right? And you want to change as soon as the login happens. They're successfully authenticated. So this happens in your homework 3, right? Maybe like you guys forced the login initially, but when you go to Twitter, you can see their stream usually. You just can't like or do a lot of stuff, right? But let's say someone logs in, you have to update that view. And so that's very hard to control because that's a business level function that has nothing to do with your individual implementations, but all relevant people who want to listen to a login event or an authentication event should be able to react upon it, right? So again, that is the thing I'm emphasizing is that you want to make that abstraction. Implementation details, such as like this on fragment list action listener, is very localized. But business level events, you don't want to say, hey, when someone clicks the login button, please listen to this button and then react to it. That's terrible because now you're tying that implementation to that button click. You want to create a new type of event or / listener and then create an abstraction called login or authentication, right? If you don't make that, then what happens is, I've seen this a million times, people only work in the confines of what's given to them. So they add like a click listener onto this button. When that happens, everything's listening to this button get clicked. They make a callback. That callback triggers and calls everywhere, right? It's a terrible design, okay? So let's see how this will work. Looks like I have a problem attaching, but anyways. Okay, so what would I do? How would I create this? Actually, what I would do is create something called a login manager. Again, Android defines structures for you to build implementations with, but when you're building a product, you should define higher level business functions that are relevant to your product. You should create abstractions, right? So this login manager handles all logins. So usually that would be, let's say we have some called user. I'm just writing some pseudocode here. Public boolean is logged in. Okay. What else do we need? Okay, and we need public void authentication. And let's do a protected interface on public interface called callback. Success. Okay. Authentication. We're going to have protected user called current user. And then we're going to say get current user is logged in is if current return current user not equals to no, right? What does authentication usually do? Usually you have string username, string password, and this is usually async, so in this case, a callback. Right? So usually you would do some async task here, or some API call to make it, and then in this success. Okay? And then we can say, let's pretend like it was successful, right? Let's pretend this is some success block, and then let's say current user equals new user. Okay? All right. So now we could potentially just say in this login manager, login manager in this case should also be a singleton. Why? Because you only need one, right? You want to keep track of a single login for static login manager instance. You want to only basically keep track of one user. That's why, like when you use TwitterKit or when you use Facebook, you can say Facebook shared, right? Get current user, right? Because they maintain a singleton for you at all times. Right? So I'm basically showing you guys how to do that. And then login manager, get instance. Okay, if instance equals null. Again, you could put in synchronized, not put in synchronized in this case. Most of the times you're going to be calling this from the main thread anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, if this is going to be multi-threaded, right, synchronized. Okay. Instance equals new login manager, and then return instance. Okay. Cool. And then so in your login fragment, you're going to say login manager, right? Get, oops, what I do? Public static, yeah, static. Get instance, authentication. Let's pretend like you're getting some data, and new callback. Okay. Okay?
In case when I have use some data to use many contact by contact mail.
Yes. Yes. So there's this advanced concept called promises. We will probably talk about that at some later point, but there's libraries to prevent that from happening. Also, you guys should also look into something called features. I think I mentioned this before. So a callback is something what we call in compilers control flow. Control flow means you have some sort of conditional logic before something else happens. And so what it does is it puts conditions around, like you say if this, then like you get something back. What you want to do is, what features does is converts things that were originally control flow to something data flow, right? I am waiting for this piece of data to come back. I don't need to like put all this like additional like logic in here. So it converts control flow to data flow. It's pretty advanced. We can talk about that at a later stage. Okay, now we're going to introduce this concept of an event bus. You want to tell me what an event bus is, since you brought it up? So for this purpose, we're going to use this thing called Green Robot Event Bus. You can use something called RX Android. Who has heard of RX? RX. 1, 2.
What is this?
RX. Okay, so RX is something that we'll cover later, but it's what it basically does is it converts a lot of actions into a stream of data. So you can literally watch a stream of data and then perform additional actions on that. A great example is you can watch actions on like a form. Like if you have like 5 fields, like you can say, I can watch like text change on each of these fields, and only when all fields are filled out, please enable visibility on a button or make the submit button enabled. So it's basically it's a very complicated concept. We don't want to dive too much into it, but I was curious who's heard of RX and who hasn't. So RX, heard or not heard, not heard. Heard? 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So you can create an event bus using RX. I think RX is actually very dangerous. That's why I don't want to talk about it too much in detail, because most people, they don't abstract correctly. It's very granular control, and people literally just create things all over the place, and I've seen too many people mess it up for me to be an active supporter of using it unless you absolutely need to. Okay? But anyways, an event bus, so can you explain what an event bus is?
Event bus is one to Fragment communicate with another Fragment or activities.
Right.
When we run constant event to another Fragment to we should off in just off and another one would be surprise between we will see the event and so.
Right. So it's great for broadcasting, because now you have, imagine a conduit, and anyone who wants to, like just a pipe, right? Imagine a pipe where someone can push something into the pipe, and anyone who wants to receive something like of that type can just watch for it. So it creates a nice broad sort of thing where you can shove in like different things into the pipe, and you can only you can pay attention and listen to the things that you want. So and it's great for example like login events, right? Because a bunch of things have to change and adapt, not just like on the UI, but even potentially back-end things that will need to change based off of that, and you want to be able to listen to it. Okay, so how does it work? You add this to your Gradle. And this is broken for some reason, so like it's not attaching, so I'll restart. Okay, sorry. Gradle. Let's add it. Sync. Okay. And now we can go ahead and use it, right? So let's say for the gallery fragment, we want this to only show if the person's logged in. We want this image to only show if the person's logged in. So for the gallery fragment, okay. So what do we want to do? So basically, an event bus, you will have, what is it, event bus, get defaults, and then you'll register this, I believe it is, and then override on detach. Defaults, unregister this. Okay? And then in here, I can put a special annotation called subscribe on auth events. And then let me actually create, so you can use it for your event. You can create an auth event that's just a Pojo, and then event. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create another function called set visibility for image. Okay, just a very like random name. Okay, and then we can say okay, set visibility, and then what are we going to do? Login manager, get instance is logged in. If he's logged in, what are we going to do? We're basically going to set what view visible, and if not, then it's going to be view gone, right? So let's just call set visibility for image here, and then what else are we going to call it here, right? Does that make sense? What else do we have to do? It's not just this, right? There's a login button. Huh? Oh yeah, okay, sorry. I have to post event too. Yes. So now in login manager, on success, I call event bus get default post new auth event. Okay, that's it. But there's something else that we didn't do, right? Which is that we didn't remove. So what you would do is here is like you could create another listener in your activity for removing it from the drawer too, right? Because your drawer is basically still showing a login button, which is what you don't want when they're off. So you can imagine all the things that change when login happens. But let's see if it works. Okay. Auto breakpoint here. Running, starting up. Does that all make sense, guys? Yeah? Like you want, so Android provides you a lot of things to really quickly build a UI and build things like quickly. But what defines if you guys can build a really good project is if you create these higher level abstractions that relate it to the product and create business level functions around it. Right? Like all this other stuff you can look up. You're gonna be able to figure it out, like because there's so much documentation on it, and you're gonna be able to go in and like say you're working within the confines of Android. But most of the problems that will arise when you're building products is when you don't wire things up correctly, or you wire through like callback hell, or you do all these things that you don't create these higher level abstractions. You're literally just going to screw yourself or your team over. Like that's why you should make sure to think about this stuff. Okay, login. Okay, it doesn't really matter. I can press login. Oh, sorry. Fires on the event bus, but nothing's listening to it at that point. Okay. Sorry, I need to rerun this because I should have changed it to the fragment. Okay, gallery. Nothing is shown. It's because it was already set to hidden. Now I am going to log in. Okay, it hit this event bus post. I want to continue running. It's going to go to this auth event, and then it shows, right? Does that make sense? Cool. So that's actually the end of lecture for today. Because what we want you guys to do is get your groups ready. Like we're going to do a group exercise where you guys fill out the ideas on the spreadsheet, and you guys also should talk about like after you guys punch everything in, we want you to get together and talk about forming teams. Like what are you guys interested in working on, and sort of like put your name down on some of the ideas that you're interested in, and then get together and talk with each other, okay? If I don't hear talking, I'm going to force you guys to. So, all right.